The long-debated, unanswered question, is Star Trek Discovery and Strange New Worlds in the same prime universe as TOS and TNG, or do they reside in a separate, alternate plane of existence? To answer this question, let's get into it. This video expedition will analyze the Star Trek multiverse consisting of 3 timeline variants and the series of events that created 2 separate alternate branches diverging from the primary timeline containing that of the original series through the Next Generation movies and Enterprise seasons 1 and 2. The Genesis spawning separation event occurred during First Contact's Trek year of 2373 as the Borg Queen navigated a spherical vessel through a temporal vortex 300 years into Earth's past to assimilate human civilization before Starfleet and the Federation could exist. Admiral Picard and crew of the Enterprise E pursued the Borg through a time corridor, preventing worldwide assimilation by intercepting the spear with a volley of quantum torpedoes, causing it to crash into the planet's southern polar region. The deep impact from orbit buried the wreckage beneath layers of the Antarctic ice sheet in the Trek year of 2063, where it remained frozen and undetected for the next century. In 2153, near the end of Enterprise Season 2, a Starfleet polar research expedition discovered the temporal wreckage that in turn initiated a classified excavation, clearing the ice layers and uncovering the shattered Borg spear remnants in the remote frozen polar landscape of the Southern Hemisphere. Starfleet undertook a massive research program under Section 31's jurisdiction to study and reverse engineer this ultra-advanced technology originating some 120 years in the future. Coinciding with the events of the Xindi attack on Earth that was influenced by 26th century transdimensional design schematics, Starfleet additionally recovered the probe's weapon fragments that carried out the orbital strike, identifying the materials through quantum-dated signatures. Combined with the Borg spear wreckage, these 2 temporal incursions occurring within such close proximity to one another caused the timeline to split, branching off into the Discovery alternate universe. Over the following decades, Federation and Starfleet technology would receive drastic enhancements through these monumental reverse engineering R&D programs. This Star Trek temporal reality variant branches off from the Prime Universe at the end of Enterprise Season 2 in the Trek year of 2153, between the start of Season 3 now unfolding in the Discovery universe. Starfleet designs received the greatest technological leap, with Starship commissions produced 4 to 5 decades ahead of the Prime timeline's level of build progression. The Constitution exploration cruisers assumed operational status near the end of the 22nd century in the Discovery verse some 50 years earlier than the same Constitution classes of starships in the original series era. The Enterprise A Constitution Type 2s would see service refitted out of the dry docks a few years before the Prime Universe's birth of James Tiberius Kirk. Over a span of 6 decades, 57 primary starships were built in the TOS and TNG eras, compared to that of 78 commissions in the Discoverse, with 3 additional Constitution-class variants of larger fleet cruiser types, made possible by temporal engineering research. As tensions increased around Klingon and Federation borders, Starfleet pursued an aggressive defense readiness and tactical upgrade program for select starship classes fleet-wide. The Strange New Worlds Enterprise, commanded by Captain Pike, who was one of these refit models, enhanced to a fleet dreadnought starship, equipped with heavy weapons and defensive shielding, capable of facing a squadron of enemy combatants while maintaining long-range science and exploration capabilities. United Federation affairs and Starfleet shifted more towards a military footing, with advanced knowledge of the Borg and other hostile galactic powers influenced the Federation Council to authorize special defensive charters. Section 31 openly controls a fleet of warships with stealth capabilities as an armed intelligence division, monitoring and suppressing potential threats to Starfleet and Federation spheres of galactic influence, with security fleets actively deployed to defend sector borders on the edge of UFP-controlled space. Exploration and survey vessels were more heavily armed, with crews receiving additional training on defense weapons and tactics in this accelerated Discovery timeline. Starship warp capability and FTL velocities additionally received drastic levels of improvements. Acquiring Borg transwarp propulsion combined with Xindi subspace corridors passed down from 26th century spear builders now enables starships to travel a few thousand light years across a quadrant in a matter of days. Spanning the last 100 years before Strange New Worlds, Starfleet established a grid of transwarp corridors connecting the far ends of Federation-controlled space throughout the Alpha and Beta quadrants. These subspace passageways again were made possible by extrapolating and reconstructing the temporal propulsion section of the Borg sphere, combined with a scientific exchange with the Xindi Treaty species following the end of hostilities after the Expanse conflict. 3 transwarp control hub corridors were networked between coreward, rimward, and spinward UFB quadrant zones, with 100 subspace lanes granting rapid access to essential Federation sectors. Starship transit timescales can reach 20 to 30 light years in a matter of hours, vastly increasing overall velocities by a factor of 100. Each subspace tunnel requires entry and exit control points sustaining the artificial corridors. Starships traveling in normal space rely on standard warp factor scales transiting between adjoining parsecs and sectors. Furthermore, the Discovery timeline's temporal progression improved all areas of Federation and galactic infrastructure for stations, shipyards, dry docks, and ports, made evident by Starbase 1's enhanced layout and structure. This brings us to the third temporal event that branches off from the Discoverse, commonly referred to as the Kelvin timeline. In 2387, 12 years before Picard Season 1, the Romulan Hobus star became radically unstable, resulting from an Iconian experimental test program conducted by a covert faction of the Tal Shiar. The failed test drastically cascaded into a monumental catastrophe after the Iconian device was activated, causing a chain reaction process of collapsing the star onto itself. 27 hours later, the massive implosion went hypernova, with the radiation burst reaching ultra-warp speeds on a trajectory threatening to destroy neighboring solar systems and surrounding star clusters. The massive energy wave achieved subspace velocities as a Federation rescue armada failed to reach Romulus and Remus before the shockwave anomaly destroyed both of the Romulan homeworlds. On a mission to mitigate further devastation, the Vulcan science vessel Jellyfish, equipped with red matter, deployed a payload creating an artificial black hole, absorbing the star's extreme energy and blast radius into a max density singularity. The resulting red matter reaction distorted the fabric of space-time, opening a wormhole vortex that pulled in the Jellyfish and nearby Romulan mining vessel, the Narada. Arriving in 2233, the Romulan ship exited the temporal vortex 150 years in the past. Investigating the anomaly, a Starfleet research vessel, USS Kelvin, on a survey mission, encountered the large unknown ship. Vastly outmatched by 24th century Romulan weaponry, the starship was swiftly disabled during the confrontation. Buying time for the escaping shuttles, George Kirk overloaded the warp core, ramming the Narada. The resulting detonation destroyed the USS Kelvin, with the Romulan ship sustaining significant damage. This allotted enough time for the escaping shuttlecraft to perform detailed sensor readings of the advanced mining vessel, along with scan logs relayed from the starship to include interstructural layouts obtained during Captain Robah's envoy mission inside the docking bay and from his uniform's remote monitoring link. These detailed schematics of 24th century Romulan technology enabled Starfleet scientists to expand the reverse engineering development through this new temporal conduit, accelerated forward by another 154 years. The Narada's temporal incursion, combined with the attack on the USS Kelvin, spawned the second alternate timeline splitting off from the Discoverse in the year 2233. Transpiring in the new alternate Kelvin timeline, these events set in motion the most extensive Starship project in Federation history. Riverside Shipyard, concealed by Earth's atmosphere, became the construction facility for Starfleet's new class of advanced command cruisers, launched in 2258 as the Federation flagship. The most significant breakthrough was the propulsion systems, allowing the Starship to achieve transwarp velocities independently from the subspace transit network without utilizing a gateway corridor entrance. In the Discoverse timeline, this warp factor of 9.99 wouldn't be achieved until the dawn of the 25th century in the Star Trek Picard series some 45 years later. This amplified subspace capability was demonstrated when the Enterprise transwarped from Earth to the Klingon star system of Kronos on a military mission during Star Trek Into Darkness. Starfleet received an extraordinary level of ensuing technology with the arrival of Ambassador Spock piloting the Vulcan Jellyfish from the same Narada temporal incursion event, but 25 years later in 2258 caused by time dilation out of the Hobus red matter temporal vortex. This intact and operational Vulcan ship systems were duplicated and modified for integration design into the refit Constitution class starship, designated the Enterprise A, that was in the final construction phase at Yorktown Station's shipyard at the end of Star Trek Beyond. The large spaceport and artificial biosphere environment can also be attributed to advanced temporal mechanics research. Starfleet's enhanced subspace multi-warp network allowed the Federation to expand further and faster than in the Prime timeline. Colonists on the edge of Federation space encountered the Gorn nearly 2 decades in the Discoverse, leading to the Enterprise confronting Gorn ships in combat actions 5 years before Captain James T. Kirk fought the Gorn commander in hand-to-hand combat on an unexplored planet near Cestus 3 in the original timeline.
There are 3 timelines!
If you are watching this video, there's a good chance you like science fiction, and there's an equal chance you are not subscribed. To help support this type of content and receive up-to-date notifications for future episodes, hit the subscribe button. Also, feel free to leave a comment, as I do read and appreciate all the feedback. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit all those buttons.